Good evening. Thank you for joining us for the special school committee meeting of the Pioneer Valley Regional School District School Committee. It's Thursday, February 27th at 6:04. We do have a member online, so we will need to take a roll call. So Steve, we'll start with you.
Steve Martin, present.
Gretchen Kelton here.
Raina Dastu here.
Stephanie.
Stephanie Arroyo here.
And Melissa Gary here. Okay, thank you. Do we have any citizens' comments? No, okay. All right. No citizens' comments. So the first item on the agenda is appointment of Taffy Bassett Fox as secretary to the school committee. So, in reviewing our current district agreement, there is a section that mentions two things. One, that we can appoint a secretary and treasurer who do not need to be members of the committee. But the importance for this is the secretary is the person who will send the draft agreement to the towns. So that is the point person that when we decide, okay, here's the draft agreement, we're ready to push it to the towns, we need a secretary to do that, to facilitate that. And so Taffy has offered, or she said yes. She said yes. She said yes, right? That she would be willing to do this. And as our administrative assistant, I thought that was also appropriate. So I would entertain a motion to appoint Taffy Bassett Fox as the secretary to the school committee.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay. So let's vote. Steve?
Steve Martin, yes.
Gretchen Kelton, yes.
Raina Dastu, yes.
Stephanie?
Stephanie Arroyo, yes.
And Melissa Gary, yes.
Great.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Taffy. Okay, on to some kind of, I'm really excited, some exciting news for the discussion of the final feedback from Desi. And then we can open it up.
Do that?
Yes, please,
Okay.
Patricia.
All right, let me just get set up here. Alrighty, hi everybody, thank you. So, exciting news. The folks at DESE who've been working on this for a long time did send that last draft that was approved for sending to them 6 weeks ago. Their legal team reviewed it, they have reviewed it. They had 5 typographical edits they requested, and they said when these changes are made, and if this is sent to the towns and if the towns approve, the residents, they would be able to recommend to the commissioner that he approve the district agreement. So I will
yeah,
go
it's
through the, oh, go ahead.
yeah, it's been reviewed
Yes.
by Desi and Desi's legal team. So they're saying that they don't see any, with all of the edits, that we needed to just finally, shore up. They would recommend it. So, yeah.
All right, I would draw your attention to page 8. And you will see there are 5 places highlighted in bright yellow. The first one in paragraph G, there was a lowercase b, it needed to be uppercase. Underneath that, in section 7, incurring debt, the first 3 items, I had the number 16, no parentheses, and an uppercase D, and it needed to be a lowercase d with parentheses. They are 2 separate references, legal references. I had them correct, somehow I made them wrong, and so this is fixing them. And then similarly, that last highlighted bit of text, 16N, needed to be a lowercase and enclosed in parentheses. Those are the edits.
So those have been added. So what we have in front of us is a draft that we have support from Desi's legal and the people who have reviewed it. And so, is there anything new from the towns that they would like to discuss?
Right now, our legal is looking at it. As of this morning, we
Great.
hadn't heard back. So,
Okay.
we aren't going to pursue this until we hear from our lawyers.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
just to let you know.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
personally think it's a little quick to try to get it on the spring's or this annual town meeting.
Yeah.
I'd like to have the towns chime in a little bit more. Obviously,
Yeah.
not a lot of them are here. So to go around from town to town and have a meeting with people who set up in a town hall or the
Yeah.
school, elementary school in Northfield. And when we get to that point, I would like to have someone come and explain it
Yeah.
to the citizens of the town.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it may be a little quick to do that. We've got about 2 months to do that.
Yeah.
It's something that I don't think we need to rush into because we've been doing this for well over 8 years. And I want to make sure that everybody understands what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's where I stand right now for
Yep.
the Finance Committee in Northfield.
Yeah, I agree with that. And just the three towns did get together. We're all going to the same attorney.
Yep.
With the same
That's what I thought.
pitching in
Yeah.
together. So we're all waiting for the same document to come back.
Great.
Northfield's attorney is looking at it at this point, and I questioned this morning if we had heard anything, and we had not.
Okay. Okay.
And the, on this side, certainly with the district agreements committee, subcommittee, when it was working on the document before it switched over to the full committee, yes, Dan, the plan had been on this side to schedule a number of open houses, events, informational sessions, so that folks could walk through it. We're happy to do that.
Anything from our committee? Any thoughts or questions? No? Okay. So if we're feeling like this is the draft agreement that we would like to send out, we could vote to send it out and ask the select boards to either put it on the spring or a special town meeting. I mean,
Okay.
I would assume that we could get the town hall meetings. I'm thinking we could do that within time.
Don't forget our elevator back in operation. So.
Yes. That we could host those in time for the spring town meetings.
Yeah, as long as we get it back from legal in a timely fashion.
Right.
We want to have a
Right.
chance to look at it and go over it with them. So
Yep.
I don't know how long that process will take, but
Yeah.
I don't want to rush into this because it is a very important thing to have happen, and I want to make sure that this stays in place for as long as we can possibly keep it until circumstances change. So it's not something we look at lightly.
Yeah, no, and the district certainly doesn't either, which is why the chair sent it out to the town 6 weeks ago. So I'm curious, when did it go to the attorney?
As soon as we got an attorney involved, then it, as far as I know, went out as soon as possible, as soon as we got it.
Okay, because I know that, Dan, you had mentioned a few weeks ago that you hadn't seen it. And
I-
the
Yeah.
chair had sent it out six
Yeah, and it
weeks
went
ago.
right,
Yeah.
directly to our town administrator, and
Yeah.
and then it was agreed upon who was
Yeah.
going to look at it. Once that was determined, it went to legal.
Okay, I just want to make clear, that's great. We certainly, the towns have to have a good legal, absolutely, positively. And the district did send it to the town 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So had it gone to the attorneys right away,
Yeah, it
would've been
didn't go
6
right
weeks.
away. I do know that. It didn't go till the end of last week because documents had to be put with it with
Okay,
questions
okay.
that we still had that
Okay,
the school
Okay.
committee chose
Okay.
to leave as it was that
Yep.
we may not have agreed with.
Yep.
So once we compiled all that, it didn't truly get there till the end of last week.
okay, thanks,
Okay.
that's helpful information.
Okay. Okay. So we need to now figure out where to go, what our ask is going to be, what we want to vote on, right? So we could look at B on the agenda says vote to approve the proposed amended district agreement to send the proposed amended district agreement to the member select boards for placement on spring town meeting warrants pending their town council review. I don't, but yeah,
The only thing I can see happening, if something comes back and it's something is very controversial that we
Yep.
have to go over and try to iron out, we'd probably have to come back and discuss that, and that would be time consuming as far as doing that. I think you're putting the cart before a horse a little bit here. Until we have a chance to see this and go over with
no, I hear, yeah.
the select board and the finance committee.
Yeah, I hear that. What I want to continue is not to wait indefinitely for the council review. I'm not saying it's going to be, but to say, here's our draft. I want to get it out. I want to start having the public forums. I want to get that going so that we can wrap up the process.
I'll tell you right now, though, that Northfield is adopting a plan that we are going to start having fall town meetings.
Okay.
It's going to be like an annual town meeting, but in the fall. So it wouldn't be a special town meeting at that time. It would just be the town, because we find that we have to do some business late in the season.
Yep.
So we found it a necessity to have a town meeting in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to start being an annual event as far as the finance committee and the select board is concerned. So if it didn't meet the May, when is yours? I don't know.
May, early May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The May town meetings, that would give you ample time to put it on the fall town meeting without any problem.
Right. Well, that would work for Northfield,
Would
but
for Northfield,
but it may
we can
not
have
work.
a special. I mean, in the fall, it's not a big deal.
Right. So
it takes 2 weeks for a special town meeting to be advertised. We can do it fairly quickly.
right. And I think what we were trying to do is to not put the burden on the towns to have a special town meeting, so that we could, because that costs money, that costs our citizens coming back out.
I think for me, more of the concern is what Jack's saying is if something controversial comes back from our legal that we have
Yeah.
to come back to you with, and you've held a town meeting,
Right.
we're going to be standing here saying, yeah, we don't know if any of this is true that they're saying yet.
Yeah, we would have
Right.
to not
Back to my
recommend
legal.
at that point in time, so it's going to be defeat
Right.
the whole purpose. So, again, I understand we're up to, the scheduling or the calendar is rapidly going towards the town meetings. And I just wanted to make sure there's ample time for the towns to be able to have any input or to feel comfortable
Right.
about the agreement,
Right.
because it's probably going to be in place for a while, so.
Yeah.
Or for at least
It'll
5
be
years.
5 years. Yeah, it'll be in place for 5 years.
Yes, at
Yeah.
least for a long time. Would one possibility be that we can vote on this as a provisional draft,
Yep.
and then that way it allows discussions with towns and perhaps improvements that we may not have foresee, and doesn't put us in the position of completely finalizing this without that discussion.
Right.
But also recognizes the incredible amount of work and thoughtfulness that went into preparing this
Right.
this provisional draft.
Right. Right.
Would
Yeah.
that meet the? Would that be an approach that we'd find helpful?
Right. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is what the next step would be, right? So I was thinking, I was coming into this meeting thinking that we would be voting to approve to have it put on the spring warrants so that the towns could vote on that. That would give ample time for review. If we needed to discuss, change, whatever, I mean, we know right now that this is meeting the muster of at least DESI's legal review, right? So other than maybe Like, I don't necessarily know if there's other major legal issues that would be coming up that could potentially really drive off course what's going, correct. We don't know.
We don't know.
Right, right.
Let's hope it comes back and they say, yeah, it's all good. But
Yeah,
if they come back and say these 6 items can't go this way, the town should not support this, we should have a discussion.
right.
And then it would come back, I mean, if our lawyer comes back and says there's some real sticking points and we recommend you do not do that, that kind of puts it in a bad light to begin with. And I'd like to see if we're gonna go through, we, go with that we all support it. And right now, we as Finance Committee, and I know the select people that were here in some of the meetings have some questions too, and that's why we added some things to the document for our legal representative to look at.
Yep.
We had some questions from DOR that I don't know if we ever got answered. So those questions we're going to have answered, and there were some questions on just a couple of things that we were adamant about, and we just want to make sure that those are taken care of and we agree to the final document. Right now, we can't because we're a little bit in the dark. So postponing it, or I agree, you guys have done a long and working to try to get this right, and I commend you on that. But we're at the 99% here, and we want to get over that 100% to feel comfortable about it. I think we, as the Finance Committee, we're pretty agreed to, I would say, 90% of everything that was in here. And we just had some questions that we wanted DESI to look at, and they had probably looked at it in DOR because it was a money issue and how to separate one particular item. And we want to feel that we've exhausted, I wouldn't say all of us, but we want to have the answers. So
A note about the.
I think that if you put this out here as far as doing it, if we don't get all the answers as far as that, and we haven't had a chance to have you go out to the community to go over some of these things, I myself would not recommend this. I would say give us a little bit more time, and I wouldn't mind. Hey, I run the special town meeting, so I understand the cost of it. I have it in my budget to be able to take care of that if I have to.
Yeah.
And
We do too, yeah.
Yeah.
so it's not a big deal to do a special town meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So then I guess we would have to figure out, so what are we doing right now? Right? So, yeah.
Did Patricia want to say something?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah. Steve.
Sorry. Yes. So 99 to 100. I very much appreciate that. Or 90 to 100.
Yeah.
I think a way forward could be for the committee to vote that this is our hard worked on draft agreement that suits our the needs from the district's perspective.
Right.
As a draft, and the virtue of not voting on it as a final just recognizes that the towns are partners in this, and for us to finalize something sort of puts it in a lockbox that it seems like we're not really looking for the insights that you might get from your attorneys or otherwise.
Yeah, we don't want to have you backed into a corner,
Yeah.
or, that sort of thing. So, I mean, you do it that with maybe a recommendation that we, once we get the final from our legal, that we would sit down one last time and say, yes, everything is cool.
Yeah.
That's would be if you wanted to say that, this is your final draft,
Yeah.
but
This
are open to discussion once the towns have a chance for their legal people to see it.
yeah.
I would say that would be a perfect way to do that.
Renee.
I don't know, I'm just shooting in the
Yeah,
dark here,
please.
but I wonder,
Please.
could the language be added to the motion that you're making? Like, items are often passed over at the town meetings, so could
Right.
something be added to this motion that, if it didn't meet the criteria of whatever it is you're saying that you need, that it be passed over, so there be a trust between the two entities that you have done your important work.
Right.
And this is the draft you want to put forward.
Right,
But, you know, and you're against a timeline to get it on their warrants.
right.
But add some language that there's an understanding that it be passed over if it doesn't meet X criteria. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where you explained where I'm feeling, right? Like, I don't want this like not open end, but okay, so when will we hear from the towns to get there? Right.
It is entirely open-ended. I'm sorry,
Right,
but I need
that's
to
what-
say this.
Yeah,
You sent this to the town 6 weeks ago.
right.
As of not that many weeks ago, Dan was on camera saying he hadn't received it. Someone pointed that out to me. I emailed Dan and the town administrator saying, gosh, I want to make sure that you got things. The chair sent this to you 2 weeks ago, and on camera you said you hadn't received it. And the town administrator didn't pipe up during the meeting and saying, Dan, actually, we did get it. I asked for confirmation that you had received the email, and I never heard anything from you. So no, the committee you lose control completely
Right,
of the process.
right.
If you say, we are just going to wait for the towns do need to do legal review.
Right,
Okay.
right. No,
I mean, I think at the end of the day, when we get to town meeting or to your public forums you want
Right.
to hold, we all want to be in support of you.
correct.
If we don't have ours back yet, we're going to be the first ones standing up saying, please don't support this document because
Yes.
of this. We
And
don't
I-
want to say that.
Well, and I don't want to schedule any public forums without officially saying this is going to be on the warrant.
I mean, let's hope we
right.
get it back next week. I mean,
So,
we had to have the chance of 3 towns. We sent representatives from the 3 towns
Right.
together, so we didn't have to get everybody together
right,
to formulate
Right.
the questions that we still had,
right,
questioning what Desi's saying.
right, right.
It took a minute to do that because we're
Yeah.
all in the midst of budget season too.
Yep,
So
Yep.
that's what's taking the time, Patricia. I see
Yeah.
it's frustrating, and I get
Yeah.
it. It is on our end too because it's
Yeah.
been 8 years
right, right.
when we had a heart committee that put it out there, and I don't want to rehash all the
Right,
other
right, right.
stuff,
We
but
don't-
We're all
yes.
frustrated.
Yes.
With it. And
Yes.
we want it when it goes to the town meeting floor. Dan and I want to be able to stand up
Yeah.
and say, "This document's awesome. Please support it."
Totally.
If
Yes.
we don't get the chance to do our review with our
Right.
legal team, we're going to say, "Please don't
Right.
support it." We don't want
Right.
to be the ones doing that.
Right, right.
I think we're all at the end of the day trying to get to the same thing.
We are. I'm just trying to put that next definitive stay on, like,
Yeah, I know. it's a
step
tough
on the
spot.
calendar, right? So when are we, is a month from now an appropriate time that we reconvene, right? Because what I don't want is I don't want to drop the ball and not have another scheduled.
Right.
As soon as we get some information back from our lawyers, we will sit down with the select board and finance committee like we had in the past with the 3 towns and review what we have and put together, okay, these are the things that are sticking points.
Right.
And then get to you. Could we do it in a month? Yeah, if the lawyers get back to us in a short period of time.
Right.
They're digesting it. They know how important it is to us. They're looking
Right.
at all ramifications that we have given them, and that's what we pay him for.
Right.
So once that is done and he's satisfied our curiosity, then we can bring it to the rest of the committee and then come here and and say,
Yeah.
okay, this is the only sticking point we have, or we're 100% behind
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And so what I would also request is if there are big items that would need to be discussed, let's say there was an item that was communicated with us ahead of time so that the subcommittee, if needed to, can get together and also review. So we're not all reviewing every, new information that isn't new to you guys, but it may be new to us, right?
So we understand. We've been to pretty much quite a few of the meetings, so we
Yeah.
understand where the whole process is going as far as it's our the people in our town that now have to be brought into the fold. so to
Totally.
speak. So when we're comfortable, we can assure that what you go out and present would be comfortable to the town. So we kind of represent the town, and we represent, you know, the dollars, and we're, like you were saying, we have a budget season we've been going through, and we've been telling everybody, you know, you're gonna have to cut back because we don't know what the government is doing.
Of course, right.
And
Yes.
you
And
guys are in
we're-
the same position we
Yes.
are, so we're really concerned with everything going on.
Right.
We're looking at everything right now, so
Right.
it's not just this
Yeah.
particular
Yeah.
document.
Yep. Stephanie?
Oh, thank you. I just did want to ask, is it possible that, since we are at this juncture and legal review is just a no-brainer, right? We need to know that it's legal. The question from DOR was a very astute look at, you know, two different policies, one from DOR and one from DESI. So we're very curious to hear what the answer that you received to that is. Do you think we could perhaps figure out a point person for the towns to interact with the school committee to update the progress of it? And that'll allow us to attempt to schedule forward as we find out you've met these different thresholds.
I think so. Jane has actually been our spearhead. She isn't here tonight, but I don't want to say anything for her, but she's been collecting most of the information. And if she wants to take that and go through that and then relay that information to the select board. I've been talking to them too much. To the school committee, then that would be fine with me, but again, we should probably
She
check
won't have a
with her.
problem with that.
Okay. You're talking for her, I'm
Yeah.
not.
Right, right.
Certainly, I think
She
it's
loves
just,
it.
you know, if we're talking about, you know, you receiving your legal response, which is, again, completely intelligent to do, and I don't think we want to have anything in there that isn't compliant. That would just be foolish. So, yeah, if you want to put together a point person and we can have two people communicating and kind of filling things in as things come through. Like, you know, we got this back from legal, we have a meeting coming up to discuss it further between the towns and things like that. That'll help to, I think, have us send back, you know, could we look at doing a meeting at these times, or would you look at moving forward there? Is that something that you think would be amicable?
Yeah, yes, I think that sounds fine.
I mean, I think you could plan a meeting for 2 or 3 weeks out.
That's
and
what I
hope
was
we
just-
have our
that's what-
review, and if we
I
don't
have my
it, we'll
calendar-
let you know and say.
I have my calendar up.
we change
Yeah.
it?
So I don't have the district agreement. In theory, if we get the thumbs up from the lawyer, right, from your side of the lawyer, and we reconvene either March 20th or March 27th, both are possible Thursdays. I was looking at Thursdays if we keep along that. Would that be enough time to get it on to the spring meeting?
That's a question I'll ask administrator.
I'd
on
have to
Monday.
look.
I think March, that's
Right, we're
Say
right in there.
45
Okay.
days. is
45,
usually-
that's what I kept thinking.
I want to say, I've got 45 days in my head, is that
That's what I have it
correct?
in my head.
Yeah, okay.
in my head.
So that would be
Yeah.
March 24th, I think,
Yeah.
for Northfield.
Just speaking as a very grateful school committee member, given who's not worked on this as much as many have, it seems like our next, as you mentioned, sir, our next point
Yeah.
could make the rest of the process much easier. That is, if the next point is mutual agreement between the finance committees and the school committee that we're in favor of this, and then we bring this to the public gatherings, it's a very different dynamic than if we're not saying that.
Right.
And so,
Right.
in those meetings, I think we'll have then the benefit of both town and committee, school committee, discussing our support for it.
Right.
And so I think that having that be sort of the next step would serve the member towns in a good way. So we just need to find a way to get to that next step where the finance committees are comfortable supporting it, given their legal review and internal discussions. So, thank you.
think you were running up against a time frame that is not going to allow being on that May meeting, because we're going to have everything printed by April 1st.
Right.
All the warrants have to go out, all the,
Right.
and, you know, and
So-
it's not a bad thing to give everybody a breathing room. I mean, let's not
No, it's not. No, but
rush
I'm
to judgment, so to speak, as far as doing that.
no, I'm thinking. I have a lot of I'm feeling very confident and supported by DESI's legal review and their review of this, that it would pass the muster, right? And that there still may be things that the towns may not necessarily love one way or the other, but it's legal, right? That I'm still wondering if we voted to put this agreement on the town warrants, that it could be passed over if we end up finding that there is, right? So back to Renee's very insightful help, thank you, is that if we could still vote to send this to the towns to request it goes on the spring warrant meeting, knowing that it could be passed over if there was substantive stuff that comes back that we would need to discuss. But at least we have it on and requested that it's on the town meeting. And we can still put in a date to schedule March 20th, March 29th to review whatever whatever the response is. So I feel comfortable knowing that we could pass over, something on the town meeting, and then if it needs a special town meeting, to then do that. I don't know what.
There doesn't seem to be any harm in that.
Right.
So Brian Warwick, Select Board
Yeah.
member. Yeah, I'd see it as a placeholder. 'Cause
Yeah.
We would do that. I could see if I was sitting on the board and we were considering this, I would do it as a placeholder with the understanding that it'd go away. But you understand the complexities of your town better than I do. But I know if we were working, we were looking at this.
Right.
And somebody came to me in this forum, I'd see it as a placeholder.
Yeah.
You can always pass over. That's my thought.
Yeah, you
That's
would
all.
know that if you had a meeting the 20th or 27th, we came back and we found something that we were not in agreement with, that we would be obviously going to have that article passed over.
Right.
Right.
And we would
We
all,
should all know that.
and we would-
at that
Yeah.
point in time.
we would all know that, but at least it's on, it's printed and, yes, yes. Right, right. And because if there was something that what needed to be reviewed, it has to go back to DESI anyways, right? And so it would have to get passed over because they would have to review it. So, so I think that we could still consider the motion of sending this agreement, if we're all in agreement that this is the most up-to-date.
And I just,
Yeah.
I'm not knowing, I'm just trying
Right.
to come from a place of wondering. Is it, like, so you're petitioning that it get put on the warrant?
Right.
Is it up to the petitioner to pass it over, or like, anybody can petition to have it passed over? Like, what's the process?
Great question.
Anybody on the floor can petition to
Say
have it passed over.
Okay,
It goes to the floor.
all right, just wondered the
And,
process.
And
yeah,
the Select Board and the FinCom would put their 2 cents in saying, we're not
But
ready
if
for
the
this.
people
and-
that petitioned it to be on the warrant.
so like I could go,
It's a question to the people?
right,
Correct.
To pass it
Yeah,
over.
so
Yeah.
the school committee member
Yeah.
could request that it be passed over.
We're not ready for this.
On the
If you
floor.
didn't
Or
want
not.
it to be passed over, it would then go to the people.
Correct.
Correct.
Not
Correct.
passed
Yes.
over.
correct,
Okay.
Correct.
right. So
Trying to
even,
clarify the process.
yes,
in my head.
so even if, I guess, gosh, we don't want to be in this position.
No.
But,
that's maybe the-
but if there was, right, a contention or a disagreement,
questionable,
right?
yeah.
Still questionable, but school committee was like, no, we still want, this is it, you know?
That happens.
Yes,
That happens.
yep,
Well, I've
Yep.
seen it happen.
Right.
I'm sure it's happened.
right.
If you've been on the
Right.
board long enough, it happens. Somebody
Right.
puts it on there and they say, look, we're just not ready for this.
Oh, yeah,
Or the
that's what-
committee, the people who put it
Yeah.
on there say, not ready.
Right.
Not ready.
That happened last year, Bernardston.
Somebody on the floor just doesn't want it.
Don't-
It
Right.
could be a random person.
And
Right.
people get to decide.
Right.
Then and there.
Oh, I love town meeting.
And that's
Welcome
why-
to New
and-
England.
Democracy in action.
That's why I was effectively calling it a placeholder. 'Cause it's
Right.
really- It gets
Yes.
it printed, it gets it on there, and
Right.
it happens. And
Right.
you just pull it right off.
Right. Okay. All right.
Through the town.
Yeah. So I would entertain a motion if anyone is interested. B's written quite nicely. If anyone is interested in doing that.
May I ask?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Just speaking to this.
Yep.
We recognize that passing overs are sort of an intrinsic part of town meeting, and that are we making that passing over sort of an explicit part of the motion?
No.
Okay. Thank
No.
you.
No. I
And-
don't think.
but with
Well,
the
I don't think so.
recognition-
I'm not making the motion, so I don't
Okay,
think
yeah,
so.
okay.
But I don't believe that would need to be.
But
I
when-
think we are having a collective understanding right now that we are asking for this to be on the spring meeting warrant, and then we can schedule. We can kind of look at our calendars and see if either the 20th or 27th work. Pencil that in as a and then we'll know even before the town meeting whether we'll be somebody will be passing it over or yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Do you want to make the motion? I guess I can make the motion. So I will make a motion to send the proposed amended district agreement to the select boards for placement on spring town meeting warrants.
I'd second that motion.
Second. Thank you. Okay. So I will call the vote. So Stephen?
Stephen Martin, yes.
Gretchen Kelton, yes.
Raina Dastu, yes.
Stephanie?
Stephanie Arroyo, yes.
And Melissa Gary, yes.
Great.
Okay, great. And before we adjourn, just for scheduling, I would like to schedule, if possible. I don't know if the 20th or 27th works for anyone, or if anyone has any particular preference.
I could not be here before 6:30 on the 20th,
Okay,
but I can be here anytime after 5:30 on the 27th.
okay. So do we want to do a 6:30 on the 20th?
That would
Would
work
that,
for me.
would that
Yeah.
work okay?
Mhm.
6:30 on the 20th, okay? And then that will be with hope, so the agenda item would be to hear from the towns on the legal review, hoping, right, that is there. If not, then we can,
Hopefully we hear next week and it's all good and we can tell you to cancel the meeting.
right.
Even better.
Right, yes, okay. And so I will wait to hear from someone in regards to that, And I'll send out my email that I typically do that says, thank you, I'll send that out tomorrow. Here's the final, and the request, and then Taffy will also have to, as secretary to the committee, send it out officially to the towns to request to be put on the warrant. Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right. And Stephen?
Stephen Martin, yes.
Gretchen Kelton, yes.
Raina Dastu, yes.
Stephanie?
Stephanie Arroyo, yes.
And Melissa Gary, yes.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yep.